Welcome back, guys. So, originally I wasn't going to do a Halloween review. I just got this thing started a little bit too late. I thought it had passed the time frame for that. But you know what? I changed my mind. I'm going for it. Since it's officially Halloween right now, at least where I live, excuse me, I'm going to do a review of the 1978 Halloween and the 2018 Halloween. That's it. Because as of right now, those are the only two that are canon. So let's get started. Here's my review of 1978 Halloween. So I'm going to warn you guys right now, this is a spoiler-filled review. If for whatever reason you haven't seen this movie yet, I don't know what you're doing. Please click off this and go watch it. Seriously, it's a horror classic. With that being said, you've been warned. Let's go. So, this movie opens with a brilliant, long tracking shot of this person who sees a girl having sex with a guy, and the guy leaves, and this person goes upstairs and just all of a sudden brutally murders the girl with a knife. It is brutal. I got to admit, though, by today's standards, it does not hold up super well. It kind of reminds me of the Psycho shower kill, which is not a very good thing, but at the same time, it works still, and it worked good for the time. It just doesn't exactly... It just looks really, really cheesy today. Anyway, we find out that this person is a kid, a 6-year-old kid. And he had just killed his sister. Holy shit. And then his parents come home and they're like, Michael? And they see him just standing there with his... holding the bloody knife, and that is just a very creepy scene. Although I'm a little bit confused as to why they just stand there and do nothing. Call the cops? Talk to him? Ask him what happened? You're just gonna stand there? I mean, come on! There's a 6-year-old kid standing there with a bloody knife. You gotta do something.
Michael?
Anyway, move forward 15 years, we meet Laurie Strode, our main character. And we can tell right away she's our main character. She's going to be our final girl because she's the innocent virgin girl who gets mad that she left her chemistry book at school. Oh no, my chemistry book! And I'm honest, I don't remember if it was chemistry or not, but her friend, the slut, Linda, is like, oh, I forgot my chemistry book, my math book, my history book. So we already know that she's going to die. And then there's also Annie. She's kind of the half slut. She's not quite as slutty as Linda, but not as innocent as Laurie. It's a pretty stereotypical group of girls. And I have to say something about the acting in this movie, because it's hit or miss. You get Donald Pleasence, who is great. He's fantastic. And you get Jamie Lee Curtis, who's also really good. And then you get everyone else. You get Linda, who is really bad, and she just keeps saying, oh, totally, totally, over and over. You're like, oh, she's annoying. But wait, Annie's even worse. God, every line she delivers is just cringeworthy. When I was watching this, I'm like, wow, I do not remember it being that bad. Like, come on, Laurie. Oh, what are you doing? It's super brutal. Like, they just picked some girl off the street. So that's definitely a negative with this. And I know what people are going to say. This is a slasher movie. The side characters are just there to die. And I kind of get that. But at the same time, this is a very serious horror movie. You want to believe that these people are really in this world. You want to believe that this is really happening. And when Annie's delivering her lines like that, it just doesn't work. And what it does do, though, is it gets you to hope that these characters die. And I'll get to that. But I have to talk about this scene where Michael escapes. So Loomis and this lady are driving there, and they just stop in the middle of the street because all these inmates are just walking around in the middle of the street, and it's just like all foggy, and they're all in their inmate uniforms, and it's just really, really creepy because you know that these people are messed up, and you can just tell by looking at them that they're not regular people. And just the way they move and the way they stand, you're just unsettled. Like, these people do not belong in the world. And then Loomis gets out, which makes sense. I mean, he's got to look for Michael. He can't let the evil escape. He can't let him get out into the world. That's crazy. So he gets out, starts looking for him, and this lady is sitting in the car by herself, and you obviously know something's going to happen, and it does, and she gets freaked out, gets out of the car, Michael steals it and drives away. And then you get that line from Loomis.
Are you all right? You're all right?
Yes, I'm okay.
He's gone. He's gone from here. The evil is gone.
And right then you know, damn, this Michael Myers is fucking serious. And I gotta talk about Loomis too, because on one hand, the main point of his character is exposition, right? That's his main point. He just talks about Michael, but it works so well. The guy is just such an interesting character, and he's performed so well by Donald Pleasence that you're into everything he's saying.
I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
And that scene, when Loomis is talking to the cop in the house, they're literally just standing there talking, which usually I don't like, but it works so well here because the way that Donald Pleasence delivers his lines. And you're like, wow. Like, this guy is just, you believe everything he's saying. You believe that Michael Myers is something out of this world that's not a human. Just doesn't seem human to Loomis, and you believe him. You're like, this guy has to be stopped because he has no sense of right from wrong. He has no sense of human life. He doesn't care or understand basically anything that most normal people would. And that's very dangerous. That's the kind of thing that shouldn't be alive. And Loomis believes that. At least he eventually does. And they just won't let Michael Myers be killed. And that happens in the sequels. I'm not going to really get on that, especially because they're all scrapped for Halloween 2018. All of them. Every sequel. Non-canon anymore. So I'm going to disregard all that stuff and just stick with this movie. I don't recall Loomis specifically saying that Michael Myers should be dead and not be held captive anymore, but that's definitely what he believes. He thinks there's no point of pure evil living on. No point, because he's never going to reach him. He tried for 7 years. And this movie just does something that is essential for a good horror movie, and that's it builds the tension so well, the atmosphere, and the soundtrack is a big part of that. The score, I should say. Jeez. The score is a big part of that. This score is iconic. It is probably the most memorable horror score. And it plays constantly throughout the movie, and that's just one of the many things that keeps you interested. Another is that Laurie is constantly seeing Michael everywhere she goes. She sees him outside by the clothing line. She sees him in the bushes. And then he just disappears like a ghost. And whenever we see Michael driving around, nobody notices him. And that's kind of a negative, but at the same time, maybe he's got like some kind of weird way about him. Like there's something protecting him or something that he can't be seen. I don't know. And then with the mask perfectly embodies what Michael Myers is, and that's pure emotionless, faceless thing that just goes around killing for the sake of killing, because it has no empathy and no sense of anything. And you realize that not only from Loomis talking about it, but just from seeing him walk around. You can tell that this guy, this thing, doesn't care about anything. And it really works. So this tension keeps building with the score and just the constant, you're just like, whoa, when's it gonna happen? Like, you're always on the edge of your seat, waiting for the kills to start happening, and that is great. Horror movies have to build up like that. It's not always about torture porn or the gore or the craziest kills, which they help, and I'll get on that. But I don't recall any movie that just builds tension as well as this one. And it takes a while for things to actually happen, but you're not bored because you're so anticipating these things to happen. So eventually, you start to think, someone is gonna die soon. It's gotta happen, right? You know it's not gonna be Laurie, because she's our final girl. She's the virgin. She's the pure one. So she's gonna survive. Because watching horror movies today, you know how the whole final girl thing works. So you start to think that it's gonna be Annie, because they're teasing that pretty hard, showing her a lot, and I gotta say, what the heck is up with that scene where she spills a little something on her shirt and has to take all of her clothes off? Now, I'm not complaining. I mean, little nudity in a horror movie, it's pretty much needed. But it just makes no sense within the context of the movie. What is she doing? She spilled a little bit on her shirt. That's it. And she has to go all the way out to the shed to wash her clothes, and you're like, what? And you also, why is everything in this house so far away from each other? Like, she has to go from the house to the shed, and then the garage, and then it's just like, what in the world? It's like this house was specifically built for a horror movie, because when she goes out to that shed, you're like, oh, now she's gonna die. And you're just waiting and waiting for it to happen. You're like, come on. And it seems like it's going to happen. The music is still going. It's still intense. And every scene in this movie is intense. Every scene. It's either building up to something happening, which is most of it, and just a few times it is something actually happening. And then she gets out of the shed, and you're like, what? Is this ever going to happen? When she's about to leave, Michael gets her from the back of the car, and I got a little nitpick here. How the heck did Michael get in the car? That makes no sense. She specifically had to go all the way back to the house to grab the keys because the car was locked. And now she goes back to the garage, and it makes no sense that Michael could have gotten in the car. Anyway, because the windows weren't broken or anything as far as we can tell. So either the car was unlocked and Annie is really stupid, which would also make sense, because she is, or that's a plot hole. But whatever, I'll let it go. Because that scene is so awesome. He just appears and scares the shit out of you when this happens. And just chokes her to death.
My fault.
And you're like, damn, that's brutal. Not visually brutal. Nothing in this movie really is. It's not really about the kills, not about the scene of the kills, but more about the build-up. And just seeing Michael Myers, seeing that white mask, and the rest of them blended in, just seeing that stick out, it's scary as hell. And I bet ever since people saw that in 1978, they couldn't get in their car the same. I mean, they had to check the back seats and everything. And I completely understand it, because that's just not what you would expect at all. And that's another thing this movie does so good, is you can't predict. You just can't. If you try, it's not going to work, because there's this soundtrack, the score is basically going the entire time. Either the main theme or a couple of the other scores, and you just never actually know when Michael's going to come out. You know he is, and you know people are going to die. And that takes me to Linda and her boyfriend Paul, and Paul is just such a dipshit. Okay, yes, I know now that his name isn't Paul, it's Bob, I get it. I didn't know that at the time because he's such a dumb, stupid asshole character that I don't even remember his name. And to be fair, Annie's boyfriend's name is Paul, so you can figure out why it's easy for me to confuse those two. From the moment you see him on screen, you're like, oh, I hope this guy dies, because he says something like, first I'm going to take my clothes off, then I'm going to take your clothes off, then I'm going to take, I can't remember, it was the kid's name, the little kid that Linda was babysitting, or no, sorry, that Annie was babysitting, and he wants to take her clothes off too, and you're like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? I hope you die. And you know he's going to die too. You just can't wait to see it and how it happens. So obviously he dies, which is a very cool death. Michael Myers basically stabs a knife and sticks him into the wall, which, yeah, looking back on that, it doesn't really make much sense. How would that kitchen knife hold him up like that? But it is still a cool kill nonetheless, and the way Michael just tilts his head, like... Like, he's like, interesting. That's about it. Nothing else. I mean, he doesn't care that he just did that. You can tell that he doesn't feel remorse. But he's not exactly proud of it either. He's just kind of like, I just did that. Oh well. And then obviously Linda dies, because she calls Laurie, and then you just hear, and she starts getting choked by Michael, and Laurie's really confused. And that would be, if that was me talking to my friend, I would be scared as shit. And, man, this movie, talking about it more, I'm realizing how much I actually like it. but it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Something horror movies kind of need is good kills, and I like a little bit of gore in horror movies. I'm not gonna lie. It's not everything, but the kills in this movie are not really up to par with like Nightmare on Elm Street or something. Because, like I said before, the main point is the build-up. And that takes us to the third act, which is damn good. Michael chasing around Laurie the whole time. And just she never knows where he is, and you never know where he is until you see him, and it's too late. And every time she thinks that he's dead, and it's over, and she's like, "Whew, I'm done. I can get out of here now." It's not. It's obviously not. And that's something that is not surprising. Unlike the rest of the movie, you know that Michael's coming back. But it also makes you think, like, damn, can this guy be stopped? He's supposed to be a human, right? But he's not. He's not a human at all. Sorry. He just keeps on coming like a freaking Terminator. And you're like, man, is he ever going to stop? Maybe Laurie is going to die. And just when you think maybe that's going to happen, boom, Loomis busts in and shoots Michael 6 times. Empties his whole clip on him, and Michael falls out the window to his death. We assume it. At that point, you're like, come on, that has to be it, right? This guy, with all the evil that he is just a guy. Gets shot 6 times and falls out the window to the ground. That's got to be it. And then Loomis looks down, and Michael's gone. And you hear the sound, you hear the music. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. You're like, damn, that is a great ending. Because it's, where did he go? What's going to happen next? And I would have been completely okay if they just never made a sequel and just stopped it right there. And I believe, I'm not 100% on this, but I believe that was John Carpenter's initial intention, was to just have that, end it there, and nothing else. That would have been great. But they decided to make a bunch of sequels, and then now they're scrapping them and going with the new Halloween, which is also called Halloween. So now there's 3 movies called Halloween, and 2 of them are in the same universe, and they're the only 2 movies that are canon in that universe now, which is kind of confusing. I guess you just have to call them by the year, Halloween 1978 and Halloween 2018. It's just it can get a little confusing for sure. Anyway, overall, this was a really good horror movie. It's a classic, and it's revolutionary. Everything else after this has been inspired by Friday the 13th, was directly inspired by this. This basically, I don't want to say it started the slasher genre, because that was Psycho. Psycho started the slashers. But this one took it in a whole new direction. This one completely reinvented it and still has a great impact today. Well, this movie has great atmosphere and tension, and you're always on the edge of your seat waiting for what's going to happen next. The really, really bad acting and the kills, underwhelming kills, somewhat make this movie not hold up that well today. But overall, it's definitely a really good movie, and the positives by far outweigh the negatives. So I'm going to go with 7.5 out of 10 for the original Halloween. So there you have it. Coming up really soon is going to be my review for the new Halloween 2018. Stay tuned.